The jazz funk scene was a huge national scene that went, it was sort of, it ran along the same time as the Northern Soul all-nighter scene, and they were all-dayers that happened across the country. My sisters used to go to them, and I came into it about 82, 83 when I first was able to kind of go out and get away with getting into clubs. It was a predominantly black scene. It was mixed. They were brought about by the fact that the black community in this country, it wasn't possible for them to get into nightclubs to hear the music they wanted to hear. The music was almost outlawed, but without any, it was sort of it was indiscriminate. Basically, you just didn't get in to hear. Soul music was getting played in commercial clubs, but you couldn't get to anything more exclusive than that. And the all-dayer scene was about all those people that were into black music at the time, getting together and travelling around the country to various venues on a month-to-month basis, like 2,500, 3,000 people, to hear DJs play exclusive tracks coming from America that were, in some cases, written specifically for that UK market. I know DJs of the time, Colin Curtis, Mike Shaft, Jonathan, were going to America and speaking to bands like Airto and big jazz artists of the time and asking them to cut maxi singles, especially for the UK market, where there wasn't a scene for it in America. It was a very album-driven sort of scene, the funk scene, and the jazz scene were quite separate. In the UK, it fused, and jazz funk was a very big scene for a long time, like through the 70s and into the mid-80s.
Yeah, well, you're talking about DJs who've been going, since the early 70s on the Northern Soul scene, and literally taking trips to America, like Winston says, to source their material. And sometimes, they would literally find a record that there were only 1 or 2 copies of in existence, which is why you get, there's a certain record now that is apparently worth £15,000 because it's the only copy. And it's the most sought after record that anybody could possibly want to seek after, and it's obviously bootlegged, etc. But that one copy, and there were a lot of records like that on the Northern Soul scene, and the Northern scene kind of moved into the jazz funk scene as taste changed, and people's what people want changed. But DJs like Colin and Jonathan, they'd already got all the contacts and stuff to get those records. So for aspiring younger DJs who thought, I can do this, it's virtually impossible. It was very much a closed shop, I think, which I suppose it made their status. They were like gods, weren't they? Really?
Absolutely. Colin Curtis was the godfather of funk in the UK, and at that time, you'd ask anyone that was on that scene or from America, and they'd say that the UK was the funkiest country on the planet because of the national scene that it had and the identity that was national. America didn't have that, and a lot of the music that was massive here that came from America had no stage in America. So those artists were eternally grateful to the scene that was going off here, and the scene was incredible.